Welcome to Roanoke Metaphysical Chapel. We are so glad that you're here with us today, joining us on our online streaming service. I am Reverend Velma Bullington, and I'm your liturgist today, and our speaker is Nancy Stokes, who is a divine science teacher and practitioner. And we know that it'll be a wonderful, wonderful message that she brings. And next month at this time, we will be addressing her as the Reverend Nancy Stokes, because she will be ordained by that time. And we are very thankful and happy with this news, Nancy. So let us begin with our opening prayer. And as we just center ourselves and we're jubilant for this day. It's a beautiful day here in Roanoke, a hot one, but beautiful. And it's always beautiful inside. And so we are joyful and saying to ourselves, this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice. We will rejoice and be grateful. So what are we grateful for today? In this, our prayer. Our opening prayer, we are grateful for Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. What is this Christ? Where is it? We thank you, beloved God, that it is right here with us. For the Christ is your presence right here, within us, around us, through us, all around, supporting us, loving us, comforting us through each and every day. For we are the only limiting force around us. We limit ourselves. We limit that presence, your presence within us, that supports us and loves us. And so we know that we can do and be anything we need to do and be and radiate your very presence as we do it. For that, we are grateful. For that, we rejoice. And we rejoice that it can be the same for those across the world. For those in places that aren't as nice as this, that are troubled, that are full of disharmony. That those people, everyone, can feel the harmony inside. Can have the peace inside, can have the joy inside that you bring. And so we send our love and our peace, your peace, beloved, to them this day. And now we'll have the Aramaic prayer as spoken by Jesus so many years ago in his native Aramaic, through his culture, through his language. Awun toashmeya nith kadeshishmak, tete malkuthach, nehwe sewiana akana toashmeya up para. Hala lachma zunkana nyamana. Washwoglon, halbane a Canada. Hanan chwakin lahaya Wayne, Lilatetlan Lanisiona, Ella Pasan Minbisha, Mito Dilaki Malkutha, Hyla Tishbo Da, La Alam, Amen, Amen. And now together, in English, the Lord's Prayer, together. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom is come, thy will is done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Before Nancy brings us her meditation, I'm going to read something to you. And this is by a man called Harley Bradley Jeffrey, who is a great New Thought teacher, speaker, and healer. You see, the healing, these wonderful healings, did not leave us with Jesus and the disciples. They're going on all the time. The healing, the rejuvenation. And so these words may seem a little bit stilted, but listen to them. This is the way Jeffrey thought that, or felt that God sees us, and that we should see each and every person every day. So this is called transcendent treatment. Beloved of God, greeting. In my integrity within me, where I know and see as God, I know and I see you, O beloved, to be free, wise, immortal. I see you unfettered and unbound, triumphant, glorious, splendid. I see you unburdened of human belief and limitation, unweighted of matter. I see you unharassed, unharmed, undiseased, sparkling, buoyant. I see you staunch, sturdy, forceful, powerful, divine. I see your eye lit with fire from on high. I see your tongue dipped with inborn celestial instinction. I behold you bright, joyous, radiant. I see you spotless, chaste, beautiful. I see you deathless, abiding, perpetual. I see you flawless, fearless, transcending yourself and all your affairs, uninfluenced and independent. I see you smiling, sound, sane, strong. I see you to be the mighty Son of God, brother of Jesus Christ, and joint heir of the Father to the kingdom. I see you alive with God and upheld by his free spirit forever. All the world sees you as I see you, now and evermore. Amen. And we see each other as whole. Only this, exactly. Everyone. And now Nancy will bring our meditation.
Thank you, Velma, although I don't know how I could ever follow that. Thank you. That was wonderful. Do I have a copy of that?
Yes, you can.
No, but I thought I had one in my class. I have to have that.
Maybe. Okay.
Well, anyway, I hope that you all enjoyed that, because I certainly did. It was wonderful. Thank you. So, let's pray for others right now. I always like to start there because, we're going to spend some time in our own personal meditation, but this is for others. So I want you to think of somebody right now. Hold them in your heart, your mind, as we steadfastly hold the truth about each one of them, that they are a child of God, and that God, omnipresent, is one with them, as protection, as security, as health, as abundance, as love. And that we see them as God sees them. Of course, we know that God is always seeing them. But in our own consciousness, we lift them up and we see them as God sees them. And the only way that God can see them is that they are whole. They are loved and loving. And they are full of the potential for joy and harmony and peace. And so we place each one in the care and keeping of God, knowing that they are already there. But we also will hold them there in our own consciousness, because they may not be able to hold that space for themselves. And we see them rise in consciousness. And we know right now that all is well. So now let's take a deep breath. Let's breathe a couple more times. Relax your body. Make sure that there's no tightness in your face. Sometimes we don't even know our face is tight. Just let it relax, your neck, especially in your shoulders. Be comfortable wherever you're seated. And I invite you to release your burdens as well as your joys. I invite you to be here now. The wick of my life runs deep in the oil of being. And that's being with a capital B. And my life is lit by the fire of spirit. Because I know that there is only one life. And that is the life of God. And that life is my life right now. No matter what confusion there may be that appears on the surface, there's always that deep inner calm at the center of my being. No matter how turbulent the waves may be on the ocean of my actual experience, I know that I can go within and be lifted up by the peace of spirit. And I am one with all the peace there is. I am one with all the love there is. I am one with all there is. I am one with God. Let us abide within at the still point where we are lifted up. The Father within says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. There is nothing to fear, for I am with you always. And we give thanks for this time to go within. Amen.
Amen.
So I do have a Bible verse for you today. It comes from Romans 8:38 and 39. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God. That is so nice. I like the way that feels when I say it. It's just wonderful. We are weaving the pattern of our own destiny by our thinking. So, what do you think about all day long? Are you even aware of your thoughts? Our fate, our destiny is in our own hands and no one else's. Well, of course, unless we give our power to others. So, the truth is that we are all one in God, which makes us one with each other. The truth is that the illusion that we are separate is just that. It's an illusion. It's kind of hard to, it's a challenge to actually understand that, because each person is a separate, we can see them, we look separated, but we are not. There are no God empty spots, which means God is right where you are. There are no love empty spots, which means love is always right there. And nothing can separate us from God unless we entertain that idea in our mind. Once we come to that realization, then and understand it, then I think that we may be able to understand that we are also not separate from each other. And I'm going to talk about that in my message, which is, Blessed be the cracked. Vincent is smiling. You can laugh. It's okay. I told several people last night that was going to be the title, and they were like, what? Blessed be the cracked. You'll hear the second part of that. It's a good beatitude. Actually, it's a new one.
Stokes beatitude.
Well, it's not even, didn't even come from me. It came from somebody very famous, and I will tell you who that is in just a minute. So, we have heard, whether we actually are, have come to that realization ourselves, that we are individualized expressions of God. And therefore, the wisdom, the love, the peace, and the understanding of God is ours. But it only takes our recognition of it in order to manifest it in our lives. So, what is stopping us from actually realizing this wonderful, liberating idea? Well, I'm going to call it EGO, edging God out. And interestingly enough, it spells the word ego. So, we have the potential to fly free, but we mysteriously prefer the prison of our ego. So, when we forget about God, when we forget our true identity and come to depend on that little s self, we will never feel the security that we so desperately seek. So, I think we are just not very good at coping with the unpredictable world as it is, and it is very unpredictable these days. As Einstein points out, our sense of separation from everyone and everything else puts us in the prison of our own making, from which escape seems just a little bit too scary. So, what are we afraid of? Well, it is hard to let go and trust that the next thing we need to know will be there. Kind of reminds me of the Fool card in the tarot deck. We are not used to living by grace. We don't trust, fear not, for I am with thee. When we run from the shaky ground of our experiences, we are further weakened and experience suffering. It doesn't really help when we run away. So, instead of running away, why don't we stop and get to know what's going on? Treating ourselves with love and tenderness, remembering that God is right there. We need to explore the strategies and the beliefs that we have used to build those walls which separate us from others, as well as those walls that we build within our own consciousness to keep certain things over there. We must learn to observe ourselves without judgment. And that's the tricky part. Without judgment, being open and receptive to whatever is happening in the moment. Now, how do we widen the cracks we begin to make in this wall of delusion? Well, a certain actual Buddhist teaching comes to mind, which might be helpful. And I learned these ideas from the Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron, who's written many, many books. You all might be familiar with her. So, this teaching has 3 ways that it describes about how every day we keep this illusion of outer security alive. Very divine sciencey, by the way. So, we need to become aware of these strategies that we use to seek comfort in an ever-changing world which does not ease our fears, but in many ways it actually strengthens them. So, the first one deals with how we look at outer appearances to make us feel safe and secure. So, and yet we know for a fact that everything is in process, for it is always ebbing and flowing and changing from moment to moment. So, it is said that the only thing that is permanent in life is, we know the word, what is it?
Change.
Change. Say it, Vincent, out loud. Change! There we go. And I know you all are yelling at me. Change! Because that's the only thing in this life that is permanent, is change. And you don't have to be a mystic to understand this basic concept of human existence. So, we resist this basic fact in our personal lives and expend a lot of emotional energy denying it. So, we actually want permanence. However, Thich Nhat Hanh nips that in the bud with this statement. I never thought about it like this before, but it just really made me go, whoa, that's right. He said, thanks to impermanence, anything is possible. Because what if the first house you bought is the only house you get? Because there's no such thing as change. The style that you picked up as a 4-year-old, wearing your Spider-Man costume to class, is the only thing that you get to do. Because there's no such thing as change. What if the job that you first start, working at the McDonald's when you were 16, is the only job you'll ever have because there's no such thing as change? When you put it in that perspective, it's like mind-blowing, actually. But yet, we want permanence. If permanence was actually a part of this world that we live in right now, then we're going to miss out on so many wonderful things that life has to offer. I thought that was a great, isn't that great, Vincent?
Yeah.
He's shaking his head. It's just a wonderful way to look at it. So, the thing about it, wanting security is, there's nothing wrong with that. We're just looking in all the wrong places. So, what do you do when you feel anxious, unsettled, maybe even a little bored or lonely? Come on, you know what you do. Yeah, I know what I do. Okay, do you eat? Do you exercise? Do you shop? Do you watch TV? Do you talk on the phone? Do you surf the net? What fills that space of that insecure feeling? You probably hardly have to think about it for a moment because you know exactly what you do. So, we know intuitively that no matter how much we engage our senses in these outer activities, they will never bring lasting or real security. So, in fact, meditating on the object of the senses and then engaging ourselves only makes matters worse, and we feel either no relief or just a little bit of temporary relief. But the interesting thing is, even the promise of temporary relief is sensationally alluring and seductive. So, I know this from personal experience, as I'm sure we all do. When we find ourselves in that itchy, scratchy place, we are simply habituated to reaching for something familiar, which will give us that relief. And then we wonder why we stay dissatisfied. Well, we actually go unconscious. And sometimes we unconsciously go unconscious. So, if we pay attention when this happens, without judgment, we might be able to stop hurting ourselves. So, I can choose to veer away from the candy aisle, and I can clearly hear, these are not the sweets you are looking for. So I can Jedi mind trick myself right into another aisle. I can. Thus, I stop my meditation on the object of my senses, which at that moment is sugar. But only if I am conscious in that moment. It doesn't matter how much meditation I did in the morning. If at 3 o'clock in the afternoon I find myself standing in the candy aisle or about to step over that line, it doesn't work unless in that moment I am conscious. So, may we all be conscious when we need to be. And when we learn to live without judging ourselves. So in that moment also, I have to let go of judgment. And I can step back and go, I think I'll go over here, without judgment. When I stop judging myself, then I can stop truly judging others. So, this is a very important realization. And here it is in a nutshell. If I stop judging me, I will stop judging thee. That's great. If I stop judging me, I will stop judging thee. Very, very short sentence. So judgment is actually very much of a part that keeps us separate from each other. So we don't like it when we see a wrinkle, when our bodies begin to change, when we have to move, when we have to change jobs, when somebody new comes and sits at the desk right next to us, when a new boss arrives. It upsets our idea of permanence. We seek to do whatever we can to make ourselves feel secure. So, we know we need to relax wholeheartedly into change because it is not going anywhere. We need to set ourselves free from this limited way of relating to the events in our life. So, get out of your head. Get out of that headspace for needing everything in your outer environment to look and feel secure. When you feel that, I want you to begin the gratefulness practice. In that moment, when everything seems awry, or you want permanence, or you want to hold on to something, or you want to hold on to your ground, just be grateful. Start thinking about everything you're grateful for in that moment, and the energy around you will shift and change. Let go of the present anxiety and relax and fall back into the presence. Remembering that God is right where you are. Because God omnipresent means God everywhere now. God everywhere all the time. So the Dalai Lama tells a very fun story about when he was a youngster in Tibet. He would watch the mice because he would see them coming out of the walls, tiny little crack. A mouse body can get through the smallest crack in the world. And he would put a little piece of cheese. He wasn't trying to kill them, and so he didn't use a trap. But he would just put a little piece of cheese there, and he would sit and he would watch. And he would watch and he would watch. He would see the little nose coming out and the little face, and then they would get halfway out of the hole, see the cheese, see him, turn around and run away. He did this for days. He just wanted to just catch a mice. No, that would be many mice. He wants to catch a mouse. Just one at a time. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't catch not even one. And he says he learned a very valuable lesson from just watching the mice. The reason that they never get caught, he decided, was this. They decide that the best thing at that moment was to forego the short-term pleasure of a little tiny bit of cheese for the long-term pleasure of living. Amazing. Amazing. I just love that. So the Dalai Lama encourages us to actually follow the same line of thinking. I mean, how hard could it be? Well, you have to be conscious in order to actually be thinking. So you can use this tool whenever you find yourself facing a dilemma. And here's how it goes. The best thing I can do for myself right now is to refrain from the short-term pleasure of this in order to have the long-term pleasure of this. If we could only stop ourselves and actually do that, I think our lives would really start to change because we would be really conscious in order to make a short-term looking at this and going, no, long-term, yeah, I'll take this. Try it. See if it works. This would only work, of course, if you give yourself a chance to be fully conscious in that moment. Now, the second strategy is we put up walls of separation in the words we use which show others our belief system. So, we use our beliefs to give us the illusion of security. So, our beliefs actually make us narrow-minded and prejudiced and thus encourage the separation from each other. So how do we judge people who see the world differently, completely differently than we do? So a friend of mine told me a story just the other day, and she said that she and her daughter went diamond shopping one day, and they both happened to be wearing sweats, which I thought was funny. But she was wearing sweats, and her daughter, I think she was a teenage daughter. Anyway, so they go into this diamond store, and they're looking at the diamonds, and then, there she is, her hair's all up in a knot. I don't know what they'd been doing, running or doing something. So there was a certain ring she was looking for. So she's at the counter, and they're looking at the diamonds, and the lady behind the counter walks up and says, "Oh, I think you all should be looking at these zirconiums down here." Well, she was really mad. Never went into that store again and called the owner. She understood that she was being judged by the clothes that she was wearing. So if we find ourselves expressing righteous indignation, it's a sign that we are building our walls higher and thicker than ever. So if we maintain fixed beliefs about who we are as well as who others are, there's no room for change or growth. So we also can't take ourselves too seriously and adopt an air of self-importance, because we could become too limited and our world becomes so narrow that we have no room to move. It's like we're in a straitjacket. Our world becomes hard and inflexible, and we become very bored with ourselves and that world that we have constructed that is so narrow. It can even be harmful. Pema Chodron tells a story in her book called Places That Scare You. Great book, by the way. A man's only son was reported killed in battle. And he was so inconsolable that he locked himself in his house, and he wouldn't even accept the kindness and the support of his friends. But after 3 weeks, his son comes walking into the village, and everybody's ecstatic, and they're so excited, they immediately rush him right to the door of his house, and then he's banging on the door, and they're all yelling and saying, "Your son is not killed, he's alive, here he is." And the son says, "Father, I have returned." But the man would not let the son in. And he said, "Go away and leave me to grieve. I know my son is gone forever, and you cannot deceive me with your lies." Can you see yourself in this story? Are you the son who comes to change his father's mind? Or are you the father who will not even entertain a change of mind? We've all been in both of those situations. If we are so certain of who we are and who others are, we become blinded by our beliefs about people and situations. If another version of reality comes knocking at your door and you do not get up and answer it because you think that you know everything is going on, you know too well what is going on, so there's no room for improvement, well, what are you going to do? Won't we be surprised when we finally open that door and find out that we are not in Kansas anymore? Now, the third strategy involves using special states of mind to avoid the uneasiness of the moment. We all know what those are. Falling in love, the exhilaration of sports, drugs of all kinds, and even spiritual practices can put us into an addictive, altered state of consciousness, which breaks us free from ordinary life. There's nothing inherently wrong with peak experiences, such as the ones I mentioned, plus I'm sure you all could come up with a million more, but it is their addictive quality that makes them troublesome. Because we always want more in the attempt to keep the ordinary life at bay. If we cling to these peak experiences, they will hinder us in the long run. We must simply incorporate them in our everyday life and then just move on, resisting the urge to do it again and again in order to escape life. So, here's a question. How much time do you spend protecting the illusion of your personal territory? Would it not be absolutely wonderful, a relief, to just let it all go? To surrender to what is the truth, to surrender to what is real. For the real is permanent. That's a capital R, real, never temporary. And our suffering comes when we mistake the temporary for the permanent, for the real. When we begin to explore our inner life, cracks begin to appear in the wall where we have erected, the walls that we have erected to keep other out. We can then begin to identify ourselves as same as other as the elephants and the dolphins do. For they identify all in their species not as separate from self, but the same as self, according to the scientists. I was wondering if they did interviews. How would they know? I don't know. I'm like, well, did they interview all the elephants and the dolphins to find this out? So I don't really know how they figured that out, but okay. It's a good thought, right? It's a good thing. Yes. I'm going to see everybody of my species as the same as myself. We can choose to block the ego strategies by allowing the wonderful grace of God to just pour through those tiny cracks in the wall. And according to Groucho Marx, blessed be the cracked, for they shall let in the light. Another beatitude, right? I just love that. They shall let in the light. By allowing ourselves to be open and receptive, the cracks widen, and finally the wall between self and other begins to dissolve. I am currently working on that very thing. I am simply trying to explain this process by how we can free ourselves from the prison of our own making. And we are certainly all in process trying to do just that. We begin this process actually by showing up in our lives, by paying attention, by self-correction, through whatever means you can use to do that. I use meditation and prayer, and I study, and I write a lot. Being in tune, being in the flow, being present with what is happening in the moment, not wanting to be somewhere else, being here now, are all possible if we stop searching for something out there to relieve the itchiness of the moment. If we want to free ourselves from this prison of illusion, as Einstein admonishes us to do, we must develop compassion for self and others. But we must have compassion for self first, and then this leads to compassion for others. Because we know that if we don't have it, we can't give it away. We must let the God within and the God without be the same God. We do not want to edge God out. We want to let God be God within us, as the 14th century monk Meister Eckhart would say. If we realize freedom is a part of our being by right of our divinity right now, not some other time, not later, that right now, no one can take any part of our life, which includes physical, mental, and spiritual security. They cannot take any part of that. Living life from the inside out knocks down the walls of separation because we are all one in spirit. And if we can attain that mind, we will be liberated from our ego, and we will be free to live life on this planet the way we were meant to live it, in joy, in peace, in love and understanding for all. Let's get quiet for just a second, just a moment. Whenever I think I am on shaky ground, I do not run from it. I am going to choose right now, when that is happening, that I'm going to sit with it. I'm not going to push away the feeling. I'm not going to push away the itchiness of the moment. Instead, I'm going to choose God. I'm going to let God be God in me. And I choose to believe that safety, security, freedom, and happiness are mine right now through the power of Spirit. And we all affirm together, and so it is. Amen.
Amen.
I hear a big amen from you people out there. Amen. All right. And thank you very much.
And thank you, Nancy. Oh my goodness, that was great. It really is. Now it's time, and we're all cracked ones. Thank you, God. We are all cracked. If anybody says, yeah, I think you're cracked, you say, oh, thank you. Thank you.
The light is coming through.
The light is here, yes. And so the light is already here through us, and it's time for our offering. And you can, you online can press the button on your screen and make your gift. And if you will here, please repeat after me. And online, please do this. Knowing that your offering could be monetary, it can be sending love, best wishes, just your presence, sending your presence. Presence. And we say, divine love provides my every need. Divine love provides my every need. I give this gift with love in my heart.
I give this gift with love in my heart.
And I'm grateful, beloved.
And I'm grateful, beloved,
that it blesses this church.
It
blesses this church, its outreach, and me.
Its outreach and me.
Amen.
Amen.
Just have really one or two announcements here. And on each Tuesday at 7 p.m., we have an online through Aramaic Eyes Bible study. And now, how is this Bible study different? I say this every week that I'm here. It's, what does Aramaic Eyes? Do Aramaic Eyes mean? Well, Jesus spoke, preached, and healed in Aramaic, his natural language. And through this Bible study, we see stories and events in the Bible through the cultural eyes, the language eyes. And this makes everything an amazing difference. There are over 12,000 differences through the Aramaic language in the Lamsa Bible and in others. And what a difference it makes in our lives. So we are starting now with the last half of Let There Be Light, the Seven Keys book by Rocco Errico. Now, if you haven't been with us for the first sessions, for the last 4 months or so, don't worry. We are examining the second half of this book, and we are reminding ourselves of the keys and how they work as we go along. So just come on and join us. There is no fee for this. It is free, and we would just love to have you. I teach this, and so I'm looking for you. Just go online to our website and punch the class key. Not punch. Click on the class. Don't harm your computer. Just click on the class key, and the drop down will show you all the information about it. And you just have to sign up. And when you sign up, I'll get it, and I'll send the link to you, and then we'll see you on the next Tuesday. So anyway, I hope to see you then. Thank you, Nancy Stokes, for that wonderful, inspiring message. Oh, that was really great.
Thank you.
We enjoyed it so much. And I thank all of you for watching online right now. And thank you to Vince Monroe, our live streaming tech. He's wonderful. He makes it possible.
Oh, I'm not all in.
Oh, yes,
Yay,
you're
Vincent!
wonderful. Yes, you make it possible every single Sunday to bring our messages to all of you. You know, and so thank you so much, and thank you all for watching online right now. Or later in the week, whenever you watch it, just watch it. It's your gifts that will keep this streaming service available every week. And we are grateful for each and every gift you give us, every donation. So if you like what you've heard, just click the link on your screen or click the donate button on the home page, RoanokeMetaVA.org, and you will be directed to PayPal. So, and please remember that no matter where you are, near or far, there really is no separation or distance. We are all in God's space, God's presence. And when we know that, we feel each other's energy. We feel your beautiful energy. And we thank you for contributing your loving energy through joining this live stream online service today. And now, we'll have this benediction. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May that presence so fill you that you feel like you are walking on air. For when you turn within and know you are one, you have love, you have energy, you have joy, comfort, more than anything you need, more than everything you need every day. Thank you. Thank you, beloved. Amen.
Amen.
Have a blessed week. See you next Sunday.